Hello, hello. I am excited for today's episode because I'm going to share some of my lazy content creator hacks with you. And this is important, right? Because I think it's an important balance to acknowledge. It is really helpful to put intentional effort into your Instagram strategy, especially if you are new at it, especially if you haven't gotten results that you want to repeat yet. It is really helpful to continue to iterate, to learn, and to get good at doing Instagram, right? But creating new content from scratch all the time can be super time consuming, and nobody has the time to do that 100% of the time. I know I certainly don't. And so I utilize these lazy content creator hacks during busy seasons, right? I did a lot of this during my maternity leave. Um, and prepping for maternity leave as well. I used this a lot when I was starting business therapy page for the first time. And I was like, okay, now I have to manage two accounts. How am I going to do this? And frankly, I just do it, maybe like 30 or 40% of the time, anyways, because I know that I've created a ton of content that works really well, that gets really good results. And so I'm not always needing to reinvent the wheel. You do not need to put pressure on yourself to create brand new content every single day. I think that that will lead to burnout. So I'm happy to share some of my lazy content creator hacks with you that you can try. But I did just want to preface it by saying, like, you want to use these hacks to repurpose what is already doing well. If your content is not yet doing well, you probably don't want to like repurpose that because you're going to continue to get the same results, right? And so instead, then I would encourage you to think about other ways that we can get support, other ways that we can learn marketing, other ways that we can approach content differently. So that way you can get content that is giving you that wow results that then we can use again and again. Okay, so let's jump in. A few things to know about Instagram and the people there, right? We do not see everything that you post because of the way that the algorithm is set up. Even your biggest fans, even your most loyal followers will not see everything that you post. And even if they did, they're not going to remember it, right? Nobody is taking a quiz and studying your Instagram or taking notes and writing things down. And so, because of this, you are able to repurpose so much content. A post that you did 6 months ago is going to feel brand new to 99.9% of your followers, right? And the ones who might remember, if they do, it's okay. Those are, again, your biggest fan. And repetition helps your audience to grasp those concepts anyways, right? So even if they remember it, even if they're like, oh, I feel like she talked about this before, I feel like I've seen it before, that is totally, totally fine. And so we can actually just straight up repost things that have done well in the past. And I'm going to share 3 examples of times that I've done this, where results have either been better, similar, but where it's done really, really well. And I'm going to go ahead and include the links to each of these posts in the show notes, both the original time that I posted it and the second, like, repost time. Okay, so first off, I did a carousel post on my Business of Therapy account where I shared how much therapists make in a year, and sort of like compared that to how much I made my first year in private practice. And the first time I posted this was in January 2024, and it did super, super well. It got 747 comments and 300 new followers. And each of these comments was somebody commenting for the link for my free training, which then, allows people to spend an hour with me. They get to know me. They decide to join my programs, all that good stuff. So really impactful results for my business. And so 6 months later, I decided to repost the same thing. I had updated my branding between then. So you'll notice like the two graphics look a little bit different, but everything else is exactly the same. And it did super well the second time too. It didn't do quite as well. So instead of like 747 comments, the second time I got 328 comments. Um, the first time I brought in like 300 new followers. The second time I brought in 64 new followers. But either way, I will still take it. It took me 30 seconds to put together. My team then went ahead and like redesigned it in Canva to follow the new branding, but very low effort, very minimal effort, and repeatable results. And the second one is another example from a Business of Therapy, where I shared a disclaimer template for Instagram. And this one was really helpful because instead of actually having a call to action to tell people to join my free training, I told them to comment for the link to the sales page for Private Practice Academy, where I share tons of templates and resources like that. And both times that I posted it, once in August 2024 and second in June 2025, did super well, right? They got 87 and 89 comments respectively. So, they had very, very similar results in terms of driving traffic to the sales page. The first time I posted it, I got 35 new followers from the post. And the second time, I actually got 317 new followers from the post. So, again, the second time it did like even a little bit better, another 270 followers better. So you can share the same thing again and say, like, oh, wow, this worked. This resonated with people. Let me take the easy way out. The third is an example from Sit with Kelly. So it's a graphic. It says anxiety feels like, and it has like 3 columns where I talk about how it feels physically, emotionally, mentally. And the first time I shared this was in October 2023. The second time was in October 2024. Both did really well. Both went pretty viral. The first time it brought in 500 new followers. The second time it brought in 200 new followers, right? And so I want you to take a look at these and see, these are posts that I've done and will continue to reshare on my pages because I know that they work. And so I do not need to reinvent the wheel. And it's not like a competition of, every time I repost it, it has to do better and better or something, right? It's just I know that it's going to do pretty well. And so I'm able to create some pretty good results in my business with very, very, very minimal effort on my part. And that feels pretty good, right? That is ultimate lazy girl content hack. Okay, so let's talk about which posts are best to repurpose or to repost. So anything that's high performing, right? So something that got lots of comments, something that brought in lots of new followers, something that brought in lots of shares, lots of saves. You can search in your professional dashboard for Instagram content that you shared, and you can filter it by each of these metrics, right? So if you're somebody who's like, I'm really in an audience growth stage, maybe you want to look at the followers. If you're somebody who's really focusing on scaling, right? Like I am, and you're focused on like courses or memberships or something, and you're using ManyChat to get people to a freebie. Maybe you want to look at comments, right? Maybe that is a really important driver in your business. If you just want to generally see like what resonated with people, I think shares, saves are really, really helpful. Other things that you can repurpose, anything evergreen, right? Anything that is still relevant and true. Please feel free to repurpose. Most of what we talk about as therapists is not changing. Obviously, if you did something around like a pop culture or like politics or something like that, maybe that is not relevant. And so you might not be able to repurpose that. But most of the content that you share, you can. Anything that's like introductory or like authority building from you. If you do an introductory post that does really well, if you do something about who you help, if you do an Instagram ad that performs well, all of that you can repurpose, reuse. Informational content, carousels, infographics, super, super easy. Now, the examples that I gave in the beginning of this podcast episode were just me straight up reposting content. The other thing that I want you to consider doing is repurposing content. And this is a little bit more strategic, right? So this is instead of just like downloading the same graphic from Canva or from Adobe Express and posting it again, we are actually going to tweak it and present it in a different way, right? So maybe you change the cover slide or the thumbnail of the carousel. Maybe you swap the colors out. That might be just like sort of like a design thing, but you could also actually put like even more effort into it, right? Maybe you change up the hook if you have something that didn't really do well, but you're like, Kelly, I feel like this is good content. Like I put a lot of thought and effort into this. Maybe you could look at the hook and see if I change the hook, if I approach things from a more personal lens, if I approach things from a more storytelling lens here, will it perform better? Maybe you tweak the caption to be more engaging or to have a stronger call to action. Maybe you take, a infographic or a list or something and you turn it into a reel and you put some trending sound on top and you put a bunch of text on screen. If you have a carousel post that did really well, maybe you turn that into a script for a talking head reel. Maybe if you did a talking head reel that did really well, you turn that into a carousel post, or those like multi-part acting reels that we do all the time in the Reels membership. Those make great carousel posts, right? Maybe you want to expand a little bit on like each of the slides, but you can certainly use the same caption, you can use the same framework, and it'll be 80% of the way done for you. You can do story sets that you have shared previously. You can do those again. I just did a launch where I did this. I had a story set that I had used like 2 years ago that did super, super well, where I shared a specific poll and then I talked to stories, and I shared my link and I encouraged people to join my free training. And I did that again and it brought in like 100 webinar registrants for me, right? I'm able to take a look and see in my analytics on Instagram, I can go to content I shared for stories and sort by link clicks and say, okay, what got a lot of link clicks here? What was it about it? And how can I do that again, right? How can I film this fresh? How can I adapt this to apply it to like the specific webinar I'm promoting now, right? We can think about that and really study and analyze your own content and see what works well and how can you do more of that. I would also really encourage you to think about like how you can sort of organize this for yourself. So if you're somebody who likes spreadsheets, maybe you have like a spreadsheet that's specifically for content you want to repurpose or things that did really well. Or if you keep your content calendar in a Google Sheet, that's what I sort of share with the folks inside of the Private Practice Academy bundle. Maybe you add another column to it where you grade your content based on how it performed, or you make a note if it's something to repurpose, and you can sort of like go through and repurpose there. I'm a big fan of just like pulling up analytics when I'm brainstorming ideas and pulling from that, and kind of using that as like inspiration and motivation as well. Okay. I hope that this was helpful for you, both with thinking about like how to analyze what's actually doing well and driving results in your business, and then how can we take that information and be a little lazy and help you build a private practice that has amazing results, that brings in six figures, but is a little bit more sustainably. So I want to challenge you today to go through your Instagram analytics from the last 6 months and find a high performing piece of content to repurpose this week and see how it does, right? And maybe your highest performing piece of content is not the same as mine. Maybe it's better, maybe it's worse, I'm not sure. But it's okay if you don't have content that's like, oh, this brought in 500 followers last time, so let me do it again. If you have a piece of content that did better than your other post, that is good for you, right? That is a good sign that you should repurpose it, because as you continue to grow, those numbers will continue to grow and expand as well. So do that, pick something that's high performing, repurpose it, and DM me the results of your experience. And DM me the results of the experiment. I would love, love, love to see the original compared to the new one. Send me analytics. Let me know how it does. I totally love to like geek out and nerd out over that stuff. And if you are like Kelly, I am brand new. I am just creating content. I do not have anything to repurpose, to reuse, to recycle, etc. Another lazy content creator hack for you is joining the Reels membership, right? I will tell you what to post every single week. I will study what's trending. I will look at what's working for other therapists. I will look at what's working for my account and present you with ideas. And these ideas will be good. I promise they will be content ideas that you will want to reuse and repurpose in the future because they are going to perform well. So that is another option for you as well. If you are like, Kelly, I got to get into this lazy content creator season, the Reels membership is the ultimate lazy content creator hack. All right. Thank you, my friends. I will see you here, same time, same place next week. Bye.